So today in this video, I'll be talking about promises in Node.js and the interview questions which is asked on promises based on Node.js. So this is a very important topic and I have tried to cover almost all the topic from basic to advanced on promises. I hope this video will helpful for you. And if you have already idea on promises, then you can skip the video and directly come to that point where you need some information based on promises. Also, you can speed up the video. And whatever code I will do for understanding the promises, I will put those code on the GitHub branch so that it will be helpful for you in later so that you can check the videos and check the code as well. So no more talking. Let's proceed further with the video. Thank you guys. Hello everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'll be talking about promises or async await in JavaScript. So before going forward with async await, we need to understand what is promises in JavaScript. Okay. So to understand promises, let's understand the definition of promises at first. So the promise is a proxy for value, not necessarily known when the promise is created. It allows you to associate with an asynchronous action, eventually successfully or failure reason. This lets asynchronous method returns value like synchronous method. Instead of immediately returning the failure value, the asynchronous method returns a promise to apply the value at some point in the future. So now we know there are few asynchronous functions in JavaScript, right? Which directly returns us the promise. And also we know that Node.js or JavaScript, they are single thread operation, single thread application. So single thread operation you can handle by these technologies like Node.js and JavaScript. So for single thread means this can only process the synchronous call. So for asynchronous call, we have came up with some callback function with the promises, right? So let's see or let's understand this with few examples. As you see, I have include one npm, which is Axios. Axios basically used to call third-party APIs or external APIs, right? Now, as you see, I have two URL. One is for getting the users, one is for getting the posts with ID 1. Now, if I do console log user, you will see the moment I run the file node.js, you will see it will show me as promise pending, because this function is a this npm, this Axios library, this is actually a asynchronous function. So to make this synchronous, we have to attach one callback function to this promise. Now let's see how we can do that. So one way we can do that by doing this dot then val, and if we do console log val, let's see it will resolve our promise or not. So it has resolved our promise. The moment we have added the callback function, then it is returning our value inside from the promise. So this is the case for when we are attaching the callback. But if we use the direct promise to resolve this, let's see whether it will work or not. Promise dot resolve. So as from the definition, you already know that promise have two parts. One is resolve and reject. So if the promise is successfully processed, it will came up with resolve. or the promise is getting resolved, or it will give us a success value. Otherwise, it will give us a reject value or rejection value. So to maintain the resolve one, we do promise.resolve, and to maintain the reject one, we do promise.reject. Okay. So inside that, we have to do some operations, some rejection value. And then if we attach the then function, you will see console log well. You will see it will print the reject one. Wait. We are coming back to the result part after 1 minute. Let's see the reject part at first. Let's see. Here it is giving some warning like unhandled promise rejection. This error originated either by throwing inside of an async function without a catch block, or by rejecting a promise which was not handled with catch. So let's see if I attaching the catch one. Catch part is to handling the error. That means while processing this promise, if we are encountering with any error in between any steps, or in between processing that particular promise, then it will directly return us the error. It will not hold the result. It will directly give us an error message, which makes this Node.js faster for processing the response. Let's see. Now you see it is showing us reject. For your better understanding, I'm clearing the comment prompt and running that particular comment again. It is showing us reject. Okay. So to handle promise, we always have to attach these two callback function. That is, one is then and another one is catch. So this is the part for reject. Don't worry about the code. I will put all the code in the GitHub, and I will attach the GitHub link in the description. So from there you will have all the code. Let's move on to the resolve part. Now, the thing we are discussing. So promise.resolve. Now we have to resolve the promise of this asynchronous call. So how we can do that? Like for having the user data, we are attaching one, we are doing one Axios call for having the data from this URL. So now we are passing this user inside the promise. Then we will do one thing. We will do dot then val console log value. And also we will attach one catch with it. So if you are encountering an error, it will directly return us the error. It will not hold for the response in any state. Directly give us a error message, or directly give us the that error object. Right? So now let's see. It will give us or not. Yeah. So it is printing the data. Right. Now you will see that there are so many other part also coming, like after calling the after doing an Axios call, we will be having the status code, which is definitely give us the 200 and then the method name get. So we don't need this. Instead of that, we need only the data. So we will do val dot data, so that we can only have the data part. That is, now you see it is printing the 10. I have 10 users. It is printing the 10 user. Right. Now let's see one thing. We have 10 users here. I'm showing you what are these 10 users. The name is data.functions. You see, We have 10 user data in this XUS call. This is a simple promise. Now we have multiple. So the reason I'm showing it this, like why we change this promise to async await. So there must be some inconsistency, and that is the reason we have to move forward with the async await. So what is that? Now let's go for that case, the time consuming case. That is the reason we move forward with async await. So now you see we are calling only one promise here, like only user call we are doing. Now if imagine we have multiple promises, like one promise inside another promise. In this case, I'm doing such one, like if val dot data. And if val, we are having the val dot data successfully, then we will be making one more Axios call, that is this post call. So same way we will be doing. So promise dot resolve, the way we are doing previously. Then we will be passing that post, attaching that callback function, then vals console log vals. Now also we can encounter some error in this case. Then in that case, catch for handling the error, console log error. I'm commenting out this part so that to console log, we are not confused with that. Okay, so let's do vals dot data, so that only data part will come. Yeah, now we have only one post by user one, because this link will only send a single post of a user. So user one has posted this message for us. So this message is dependent on the user. So if we have user, then we have the post, right? So if we don't have any user, we don't have any post at all. Now this is the case when we are calling only two promises, one promise inside another promise. Now if imagine we have 100 number of promise or 1000 number of promise, or maybe 50 number of promise, then what we have to do? One promise inside another promise. Then this will be hugely nested promise, one after another, simultaneous call. In that case, we may encounter the noodles of promises, right? So to reduce that constraint in ECMAScript 7, we came up with async await. So this await keyword does the same thing like the callback then, but without nested looping. That makes the asynchronous coding easier to use for the developer and to understand for the new coder. Okay, so this is the one redundancy of promises. So this thing, like if we have 10 promises, imagine we have 10 promises, one promise after another promise. And in any case, we have encountered while processing those promises, in between that case, if we are encountering any error, that will not be easier to resolve, because to understand that particular part, we have to maybe go through multiple debugging procedure to understand that particular error. So during that scenario, we can call that scenario as callback hell. So in your interview, sometimes interviewer can ask you what is callback hell. Then you can say, when we encounter multiple promises, one inside another promise, and also besides that we are facing any issue, then inside that nested promise, then it will be not easy to resolve that promise or to find that particular error. In that case, we may stuck into the callback hell. This is known as callback hell. Okay. This note I will also provide you in the description. You can check from there as well, right? So to reduce this, we are using the async cavet, the ECMAScript, new ECMAScript function version of async cavet, right? Now we have one more case of promises, one more exception case of promises, like reject we have already discussed, resolve we discussed now. Now we have one more case when we can process these two asynchronous promises parallelly. That means not depending on each other. Like in this, the case I'll be handling now, this case will not dependent on each other. Like user is not dependent on post, and post is also not dependent on user. Parallelly, I will be processing these two. So for that case, we have one function in promise, which is known as PROMISE.all, right? Then in the array format, we will be passing these two, user and post dot then val, right? Now let's clear the console. It will proceed with a huge console. I'm getting all the consoles here, or maybe I'm commenting out this total part. Okay. Now promise.all console log. If we do well, you will see both the values coming. Whole thing. The data is also coming for the post of that particular user, and you will also see the data of users, 10 users, that will also come. Now you see this is inside one array. Now we have to segregate these two. So we will be taking the 0 index of the array for user, and we will be taking 1 index for the post. Now let's see how, in which format this will come. Yeah, that object part, I mean that array part has gone. Now these two has segregated. Now the one more step is like dot data we will do, so that only data will come. The rest is not necessary. You see, this is my post and this 10 is the user. This way we can segregate, right? So even if we pass few more promises, like maybe 10 promises, then also this will parallelly process those promises as well. And by this procedure, or we can do one looping, as we have only two, so that is the reason I didn't put any loop inside this. But if we have more than this, then we definitely have to put, we will not be going in that case in a static way, we will be going in that case in a dynamic way. So in that case, we definitely have to do a loop through over the val, like this way. For let I0, I less than val dot length I plus plus. Right. So the thing we are doing, instead of that, we'll be passing I. Same thing is coming, right? Previously, whatever you're doing, same thing is coming. So this will be easier. This way you can also have the required data from the promise.all. Like you can take one array, and then you can push the value, then you can take the value and use the value based on the requirement. This way promise.all work. This promise.all is very useful. Also in the interview, even if the interviewer can ask, right, how to use promise.all or why we use promise.all, or maybe interviewer can give you one scenario by saying like you have two promises. Now you have to resolve those two promises in a parallel manner, not dependent manner. Like not we will not hold the first block the fast response for the second. Like if we are processing with the user, the post is not dependent on the user, right? Or vice versa. Post will not be dependent on the user, or user will not be dependent on the post. Or also it will not hold. We need the result at one time, at one goal, right? So in that case, we have to go for the promise.all if we want to process these two promises parallelly. Okay. So I will also mention this in the coding part. You can check from the GitHub link. So this is all about almost all. There are a few more things with promises. Promise is not a short thing. There is a lot more thing in promises, but these are the basic things which you definitely need to know. And this is also very much important for the interview of promises, right? Now let's see. I have also made one PPT so that everything gets clear easily. So what is async await in the Node.js? That's the first part. But before that, we need to know what is promises. So promise is one of these states. In a pending state, you will see that if we are not attaching any callback function, then our promise can be in a pending state. The first one which you have seen, right? If let me show you one more time. If we are doing this, we are not attaching anything as such. Callback function, let data this, and if we do console log data, you will see promise is coming as pending. So if you are not attaching the callback function, then the promise state will be pending. Fulfill means, like fulfill state, you can see this resolve state. If it is resolved, then it will give you the data successfully. And if it is rejected, that means operation failed. In this case, operation got failed. And catch, you have to attach in all the cases, like while processing the promises or while going through the promises, if we have encountered any error, then it will not wait. It will directly throw us an error, error from the promise. Right. The way I'm saying, like async await in JavaScript, ECMAScript 7 makes it easier to coordinate asynchronous promises if you need to do any asynchronous call. Asynchronously fetch data from the multiple databases, APIs in a certain order. You can end up with a hodgepodge of promises and callback, right? So in that case, to resolve that, we are using the promises, right? Or async await to avoid the multiple promises, promise processing, and also the lines of code also getting reduced while using the async await, right? There are few steps, like currently I was showing you, like promises, we can directly take that promise because it is already attached in the JavaScript as a library. So we don't need any particular npm to use the promise. You can directly use the promise. Maybe this is a previous version where we are attaching this npm request promise to use the promise. So we don't need it, but I have attached. If in interview people are asking that what is the what is the npm name for using the promise, then you can say the request promise. And also I have attached one example for your better understanding in here. So let's understand the promise in this diagram. So at first we have one console log, maybe some string hello world, something like that. And in the next request, we are doing some promise call, like www.youtube.com, right? Doing some promise call. Now we are not attaching any callback function at all. So in which state our promise will be? So calling HTTP, so multiple time it will just stay in some intermediate position. It will not confirm us in which state our promise is getting pended. Or it will not show us that our promise is in pending mode. It will show only that our promise is in a pending mode, but in which state or what it is doing. If we do console log of the same line, maybe we can see multiple results, but we will not. That doesn't mean that it is unblocking the thread. It is blocking the thread and it will stuck in somewhere. So to resolve that, we have to attach one callback function. After attaching the callback function, you can see we are having the result. And this part is to stop the multiple calling. We introduce then as a callback function, you can say then, and for handling the error, we have attached the catch. So then catch is a callback function, you can say. So the thing we have already discussed here, this then and the catch. Even if we do this way, like this is a promise. Axios is a promise by default. So like that line I have already written, like if you do Control C. If you do like this way, dot then it will also resolve the promise. No way, no issue. It will not give any issue at all. It will also give you the result what you want from this Axios call. Right. I have mentioned this for your better understanding so that you can understand better how promises work. Right. Same thing. In here, we are handling. Okay. So here we are handling multiple promises the way I was showing you. Yeah. So in this slide, we are handling multiple promises. Right. To this resolve functions I have already shown you. This error means the reject case, you can see. So that thing I have also attached in this PPT. Okay, this PPT presentation I will this PPT I will add in the description. You can take this PPT format for your interview purpose or for your better understanding purpose. Yeah. So this is the case for handling multiple promises in Node.js. Like I was showing you the promise.all, it will return us the multiple promises together. Then you can do, and if you want to hit the result, like I was showing you, the first index giving you the first promise result, or for the second index, it will give you the promise to result. Like here is only two, so I haven't done that looping thing and all, but I have shown you on the code. You can check out from there as well. So this is the case we are doing the promise.all. What the cases are going inside the promises. So that is like we have two API calls in our cases, and two API calls or two external API calls, two promises. And from one promise, it is stuck in some calling HTTP for the second. So now we are doing promise.all for parallel processing, right? After that, we have to attach one callback function, right? One callback function. The moment we have attached the callback function, it will give us the result inside the callback function. Then from the result, we can segregate the result based on our requirement. In the ninth slide, I have written all the questions which I've asked on this topic. And definitely in your coming Node.js interview, it will definitely ask by your interviewer. That one thing I can make sure you. Right. So what is promise then in JavaScript? They will definitely ask you. What is async await in JavaScript? And why we use async await in JavaScript? What is callback hell, which I have already described, like multiple promises, and inside multiple promises, if we have encountered any error, we will not be able to solve that. Maybe we will be stuck in some position, and maybe we need multiple debugging to trace that particular error. Even if in larger case, maybe we will not be able to trace that particular error. So in that case, it will that scenario will be calling us callback hell. So to resolve the callback hell, what we did for resolving callback hell, we came up with the idea of async await, right? Now, what is promise.all? So for handling multiple promises parallelly, we are doing the promise.all, and why we use promise.all, same. Okay. So this PPT I will attach to the video so that it will be helpful for you to understand this total video. Okay. And this video till this only. In the next video, I'll be showing you some async await. I think you have already understood by the promise. The same examples I'll be describing in the async await part, but that will be in the next video, because in this video is getting too much large for this content. So in the next video, I'll be talking about the async await. The same example I'll be implementing the async await procedure. Okay. This video is very much helpful for your interview. So please go through this video. This will be helpful for your interview. Thank you guys. I'll be showing you on the async await part in the next video. Thank you guys. Good night.